Right now, someone is lying to you. Maybe it happened this morning. Maybe it will happen tonight. Maybe it is happening at this very moment and you do not even know it yet. But here is what is strange. Part of you already does know. Something shifted. A tightness in your chest. A slight drop in your stomach. A weird urge to take a step back from someone, even though they said all the right words. You could not explain it if someone asked. You just felt it. That feeling has a name, and it is far older than language, older than logic, older than the part of your brain that forms sentences and reasons through problems. It is a system so ancient and so precise that researchers are only now beginning to understand how it actually works. And once you understand it, you will never ignore that feeling again. Your body is not guessing. It is remembering. To understand why, you have to go back. Not decades, not centuries, millions of years. Long before your ancestors had the cognitive machinery to catch a lie consciously, they were living in a world where deception could kill you. A rival pretending to be friendly, a predator mimicking stillness, a poisoned piece of food that smelled fine but was not. The organisms that survived were not necessarily the smartest ones. They were the ones whose bodies reacted fastest to signals that something was wrong. That is what you inherited. A nervous system preloaded with threat detection, so sensitive it does not need your permission to fire. The research is clear on this. In a landmark series of studies, psychologist Paul Ekman spent decades documenting what he called micro-expressions. These are facial movements that last less than a fifth of a second. They happen before the conscious mind has time to suppress them. A flash of contempt around the mouth, a brief tightening of the eyes, a half-second pull at the corner of the lip. In study after study, Ekman found that trained observers could detect these micro-expressions with startling accuracy. But here is the part most people miss. Untrained observers detected them too, not consciously. They just felt uneasy. They could not say why, but something in them registered the mismatch. Your brain receives this signal before you are even aware that a signal was sent. This is where the science gets genuinely strange. There are two processing streams in your brain. Researchers call them the fast pathway and the slow pathway. The slow pathway is what you think of as thinking. Information comes in, your prefrontal cortex evaluates it, you form a conclusion. That process takes time, sometimes a full second or two. The fast pathway is different. It routes sensory information directly to the amygdala, the part of your brain that handles threat detection, before the signal even reaches your conscious awareness. Your body begins responding to danger before your thinking mind has received the memo. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent years mapping this system and described it as a neural shortcut built for survival. The amygdala does not wait for analysis. It fires first and asks questions later. And when it fires, your body moves. Cortisol rises, heart rate shifts, muscles prepare. The gut, which contains more than 100 million nerve cells and is often called the second brain, changes its activity in ways that register as a physical sensation in your abdomen. That is the feeling. That is what people call a gut feeling. It is not mystical. It is electrochemical, and it is specifically tuned to detect dishonesty. Think about what a lie requires. The person lying to you has to hold two realities in their mind at once: what is true and what they want you to believe. That internal conflict leaks. It leaks through micro movements of the face. It leaks through tiny inconsistencies in timing, in breathing, in the rhythm of speech. It leaks through what researchers call behavioral synchrony, the natural mirroring of gestures and posture that happens between people who are communicating honestly. When someone is lying, that synchrony breaks down. The unconscious choreography falls apart, and your nervous system picks it up. In one particularly striking experiment, psychologist Nalini Ambadi showed participants 10-second silent video clips of teachers they had never met. Participants rated those teachers on a range of qualities, including honesty and trustworthiness. Then the researchers compared those ratings to evaluations that actual students had given those same teachers after an entire semester of real interaction. The correlation was remarkable. 10 seconds of silent video with no audio, no context, no prior knowledge, and people were accurately reading something true about those individuals. The body was doing what the conscious mind had no time to do. Your ancestors did not have polygraph machines. They did not have neuroscience. But they had something that may have been more reliable, a body that kept score. Here is where it gets complicated. That same system that protects you can also mislead you. The fast pathway does not distinguish perfectly between real threats and learned associations. If you grew up around someone who lied to you often, your nervous system may have encoded the particular body language, vocal tone, or cadence of that person as a threat signal. Now, decades later, someone who reminds you of that person, someone who uses similar hand gestures, similar speech rhythms, similar patterns, triggers the same alarm. Not because they are lying, because they rhyme with someone who did. This is one of the reasons snap judgments can be wrong. The body is detecting a pattern, but patterns are not always predictive. They are probabilistic. They worked well enough in a small tribe where you knew everyone's history. In a modern world of strangers, the system misfires. Researcher Timothy Wilson, in his book Strangers to Ourselves, describes the unconscious mind as an enormous, lightning-fast processor that is constantly evaluating the world and feeding conclusions upward to the conscious brain. Most of the time, you do not experience this processing. You just experience the output, a feeling, an impulse, a vague sense that something is off. Wilson argues that we are strangers to our own mental lives in ways that are both humbling and important. The story your conscious mind tells about why you felt something is often constructed after the fact. The feeling came first. The reason came second. This matters enormously when you think about trust. You have almost certainly been in a conversation where someone said something entirely reasonable, entirely logical, entirely believable, and yet some part of you did not buy it. You smiled, you nodded, you moved on, but the feeling stayed with you for hours. And later, you found out you were right. You have also been in a conversation where someone made you feel warm and trusted instantly, not because of what they said, because of something in the way they said it, the timing of a pause, the consistency between their face and their words, the feeling that what was on the surface matched what was underneath. Both of those experiences were your ancient threat detection system functioning exactly as designed. The question is, what you do with it. Most people have been trained to dismiss the feeling, to privilege the logical argument over the bodily signal, to say to themselves, well, there is no rational reason to distrust this person, so I should ignore what I am feeling. And sometimes that is exactly right. The system misfires. Biases encoded from childhood distort the signal. Context matters enormously, but sometimes the feeling is accurate. Sometimes it is the most accurate thing in the room. Learning to listen to your body without blindly obeying it is one of the most sophisticated things a human being can do. It requires holding two things at once: the rational evaluation of words and evidence, and the quieter, older signal coming from somewhere below your ribcage. Neither one is infallible. Together, they are something close to wisdom. There is a reason experienced negotiators, seasoned therapists, and elite interrogators all say some version of the same thing. The words are almost the last thing they pay attention to. They watch the body. They listen to the rhythm. They feel the room. They are doing consciously what your nervous system does automatically, whether you pay attention to it or not. Paul Ekman trained law enforcement professionals to read micro-expressions. Joseph Ledoux mapped the neural wiring that makes it all possible. Nalini Ambadi showed that the information is there, readable in seconds by anyone with a nervous system. The science is not telling you something new. It is explaining something you already knew how to do. You have been doing it since before you had words for anything. Tonight, someone will say something to you. They will say all the right things. Their argument will be logical. Their tone will be calm. And somewhere, deep in the body that carried your ancestors through 10,000 generations of survival, a signal will fire. The real question has never been whether your body can tell. The question is whether you have been listening.